This video became necessary because one of my revolvers is going through an identity crisis, so I'm going to explain what I mean and get it sorted out. I'm Dustin and you're watching Guns of the West. This revolver has been featured on the channel in numerous videos in the past, but just lately I've been seeing a lot of comments from people telling me, stop calling that a Navy revolver, that's obviously the 1860 Army revolver. Well, correction. One of its bigger brothers is the 1860 Army revolver, so let's just have a comparison, even though I've compared them before on the channel, and we'll sort out the differences between the 1860 Army revolver and the 1861 Navy revolver. Well, here on the bottom we do have an 1860 Army revolver, and up here the 1861 Navy revolver, which is often mistaken apparently for the 1860 Army revolver. Now I want to make a confession right up front. I have made that mistake myself once. I was visiting a Porter Rockwell museum here in Utah, and they had an original 1861 Navy on display behind glass with a label on it that said 1860 Army revolver. And I was looking at so many things at the museum, I read that tag, glanced at the gun, and did not even notice that they had the tag wrong. I figured, well, it's the museum, they must know what they're talking about, right? Well, apparently not. It's a very common mistake. So let's just take a look at some differences. I think, first of all, one of the causes for confusion is the barrel. This does look a lot like an 1860 Army barrel. It's round, has some of the same contour lines, but notice this one is shorter. This is a 7.5-inch barrel on the Navy, 8-inch barrel on the Army, as is evident by the fact that it sticks out farther from the end of the loading lever than the one on the Navy does. Also, you may be able to tell in this image, this grip is shorter than the grip on the Army, so the grips are different, the barrels are different. Now, you don't need to worry about the fact that this has blued steel trigger guard, because that's not always the case. More often, these have brass, like the Army. I just happen to have a blued steel one. They do both have the similar loading lever with that rack and pinion design. That's the same on both. They, in this case, are both also cut for shoulder stocks. You can see the cuts here, and they both have the screws for hooking that on. Now, the big difference, the main one, between the Navy and the Army, the giveaway, is that the Army is chambered in the Army caliber of 44, while the Navy is in the Navy caliber of 36. That's why you can see that on the Army cylinder, right here, there's a seam in it, it seems like, because it steps up in size to accommodate those 44 caliber projectiles, whereas this cylinder is just a straight line. It does not need that because the chambers are 36. It almost seems to be that this 1861 Navy is sometimes forgotten in the lineup of Colt cap and ball revolvers. Maybe people think of the 1851 when they think of Navy revolver, and of course there is. That was one of the most popular ones of all. But let's not forget the 1861 Navy. Samuel Colt himself actually said that that was his most beautiful design, and I think that's pretty hard to argue. I personally think the London 1851 is the most beautiful in my opinion, but this one is certainly noteworthy and the prettiest in his opinion. Even if for just its own self-esteem, let's call it by its correct name. Well, I really hope this video helped to resolve the identity crisis for my poor 1861 Navy revolver, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to click that like button down below and subscribe to the channel so you can see more videos. And if you look in the description, you'll see where you can follow me on social media, as well as where you can find all the great Guns of the West products. Thank you so much for watching.